once again on shaky cam, mostly because it'll be easier to move the camera around this way. At this point, I've gone in and touched up the main parts of the panels, as well as gone in with the brush I'm pointing this out with, and done the red bordering along the edges of the control panels, as well as the beginnings of the red on the helm console. I've also got the doors painted for the turbo lifts, and I have placed the supports for the handrails. Once those have dried, I'll go in and paint them, probably the same gray I'm using down there. But that's where we're sitting at the moment. Okay, the more I got looking at the deck plates and seeing those seams, the more I decided they were driving me nuts. So, took out my Squadron White and went through and filled all the seams between the deck plates. I will go back in later after this had a chance to dry and sand that all flush and repaint it. But I figure it's going to be worth it. So that's what we're doing. Alright, we're back on shaky cam for a bit. It's because I got things scattered kind of all over. Got a little bit of progress going now. Got the clear coat on the top of the control panel and on top of the center piece, as well as on the arms of the captain's chair. I've finished the seam work on the decking, at least to my satisfaction. Repainted the deck with the bomber tan, or armor sand I should say. I've also painted the handrails and got them glued into place. Now, unlike in the instructions, I've left the underside here gray, as well as the stand pieces gray. And over here, what we got is a whole bunch of pieces with clear coat drying on them. That means it's going to be decal time soon. Alright, time for another shaky cam update. Working on the decals now. What we've got here is the... I'll bend down and pick that up later. What we've got here is the science console, or Mr. Spock's console. I still need to put the scope in place, but I'm waiting for the decals to set up and for me to seal them to do it. Each one of these stations has a total of, 13 decals. You've got the 2 screens, 8 smaller screens, the console, and the 2 vents. Now, one thing I'm doing to make life easier on myself with the console decals themselves is I'm cutting them in 2 and putting them on in halves. That way, where they've got to fit over the edge, it's a lot easier to work with. Now, over here, we've got a lot more of the decals done. Got the turbo lift decals in place. I'd show you a little better, but I've also gone ahead and glued the turbo lift doors to the base. Uhura's console's ready to go, as are the main screen and the consoles that go to either side of it. I have Sulu's scope glued down to the helm console, and I've also got the helm console and captain's chairs glued down to the deck. At this point, it's seriously time to start working on actually putting the consoles on the base. At this rate, I may do that as a time filler while I'm actually working on decaling the rest of them. Stay tuned. Alright, time for another quick update. At this point, I've got communications and weapons panels in place. Got that panel to put in and that one on this side of the bridge. Then I've got to do this set of panels. As I did over here, I'm going to start here with Scotty's control panel and work my way around. Speaking of Scotty's control panel, it's right here waiting for the clear coat to dry. At this point I have one more panel left to do. I have also set up to do the filler, sorry for the constant spinning, for these two gaps here and here. What I have done is I've cut a piece of sheet styrene. Yeah, you can see the grooves I've cut in it. Basically what I'm going to do is once the paint's cured, or the primer's cured, and I've got a coat of sealer on here, I'm going to fold these panels along the cut and insert them from the back into these gaps. Which will actually give us the complete bridge panels and not have those huge holes. Stay tuned. We'll see how things go. Alright, back at it with the bridge. At this point, major construction is done, and I've glued down the unoccupied chairs. Haven't glued down the seats that actually have figures in them, so that I can glue them to the chairs before I glue the chairs to the floor. This is basically where the figures are going to wind up. I've taken the bases off the feet of the standing figures so that I can glue them to directly to the floor, because chances are this model is actually going to wind up on the wall, so I need them glued down. My filler panels are now in place. And all of the various control panels are in place around the bridge. At this point, about all I've got left to do is the figures. So, stay tuned for the next update.